next speaker is Dr. Brian Marshall, mining geologist. Dr. Brian Marshall is a mining geologist who has worked in the mining and exploration industry as a consultant in both exploration and engineering geology and on a state geological survey. His career also encompasses more than 35 years in tertiary education in many universities around the globe as well as in Australia. He's been on the Blue Mountains Conservation Society's Management Committee since 2004. Since joining the Society, he has published more than 80 articles covering a wide range of environmental issues. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much for those words. I'd like to say I did mining geology, exploration geology, academic geology, and I'm finally learning about environmental geology. I want to first of all just talk to you about natural gas. Natural gas is what occurs above oil fields, above the oil itself, and beneath what we call a trap, the cap. When you penetrate that cap, the gas rises out and is automatically put into pipelines or whatever. You don't need to work hard for it because it's not trapped closely in the rock. It's very easy, it just rises out of its own accord. That is what is exploited in the Northwest Shelf, in the Cooper Basin, and in various other places. The problem with our natural gas is that we then compress it, reduce the temperature to about 160 degrees, minus 160 degrees centigrade, stick it into big cryogenic pots, and send it overseas. So an awful lot of our natural gas we get rid of. It's interesting. So we then come to coal seam gas. And coal seam gas is now called unconventional natural gas. After all, it comes from rocks, and it is there naturally. We could also call it organic natural gas, because it is organic. You know, marketers love organic, they love natural. And inevitably, this has been exploited by the change of name. But it's still coal seam gas, and its friend that comes from a little deeper down usually, what they call shale bed gas. Now, in the order of natural gas, coal seam gas, shale bed gas, it's increasingly difficult to release. You can get away with releasing some of the gas from the coal seams without fracking, at least at the beginning. For shale bed gas, you need to frack. It's that tightly held. There's no question of pulling out a little bit and then several years later as the supply dries up, going in and starting again. They start fracking right from the beginning. We're concerned with the halfway stage, coal seam gas. Okay, well that's our concern. I'm not going to dwell on methods of extracting it or threats or things of that sort for the simple reason that you get the chance to ask questions, and also I only have a short time. The thing is, do we need it? We're told we need it as a transition fuel between coal-fired electricity generation, coal-fired power in other words, and the alternative, and I've definitely not said what the alternative is, because there are two. One is renewables, and that's the good one. The other is nuclear. and that's the bad one. We need nuclear like we need a hole in the head. So, let's deal first of all with the so-called good one, the transition to renewables. Why are we talking about transition? We've got renewables now. They're on price parity with gas-fired power generation. So the simple answer is, we don't need to transition. All we need is to focus on renewables and pour the resources that currently go into CSG and SPG and all the other bloody Gs. We need to stop that and focus on getting renewables up to an even better state. So, we don't need it for that reason. But we are told we do need it by Chris Harcher. We're told that we're running out of gas. Well, we're running out of gas in New South Wales about as much as Chris Harcher or Barry O'Farrell are running out of gas. And they're full of it. So the simple situation is that we aren't running out of gas. What is, for example, Santos, the Cooper Basin field, they are currently gearing up to supply CSG to Eastern Australia for the next 10 to 20 years. They know they've got a limited supply that will start disappearing after 20 years. So they're also looking at shale bed gas under the Cooper Basin as well. And that will keep them going for at least the next 50 years. There's no shortage of gas. They can keep Eastern Australia supplied. And at the same time, they're building a dirty great export port because they know they're going to have such a surfeit, they'll be able to send it overseas. So, no shortage of gas whatsoever. Right? The real situation is that New South Wales, its contracts with the Cooper Basin run out in 2014, which dawned on me when I was thinking about this is next year. And when that happens, they have to renegotiate the price. Now, the gas companies can get a certain number of dollars per unit exporting it, and if they kept to the existing price, that would be a lower return for them. So they're naturally saying to government, okay, we've got loads of gas, but you're going to have to pay more for it. Now, the immediate reaction is, oh Christ, not another increase in prices. But I think it's really good, because we've got parity now. If we push the price of gas up, that means renewables are even more attractive. You know, if the environment doesn't appeal to you, at least your pocketbook should. So let's go to renewables and save money. So we don't need it. That's the main point I want to get across. Now, I want to just talk very quickly about what I'm going to call the current situation, because a lot has been happening over the last few weeks. First of all came the O'Farrell buffers. The buffers, the 2-kilometre buffers, and yes, we'll protect the wine industry, and yes, we'll protect the horse breeding industry. It left, I can't see that, right? Okay. It leaves large amounts that are uncovered. State forests, no guarantee about national parks or national parks. there's no guarantee about our water catchments. The things that it didn't do are so long that I don't have time to finish them. But after that, and it's by no means become more than something scribbled on the back of a cigarette pack in Parliament, we get AGL taking the government to court because of damages. Then we follow a situation, literally a couple of days ago, where Ted Mack let the cat out of the bag, where he said there's what's called the Early Intervention Bill, currently trying to go through Parliament. That Early Intervention Bill will in fact enable government to set performance indicators for councils. If they don't conform, they can be warned and an administrator in place. That can happen for 3 months, and then they can extend it for another 3 months without telling council that's what's even happening. Now the situation, why does it relate to CSG? If you imagine somebody wants to move in and develop CSG in your area, and your council says no, and government wants it to happen, naughty boy, we're going to remove you, we'll put in an administrator. That's one of the things that's happening. The second is that Hazard has now introduced a variant of the state environmental planning policy which allows councils to back out, to say, no, we don't want the 2-kilometre area, we want you to come into our area. You know, it's good for our environment. We've got too many kids, let's get rid of them. This is the next thing. And finally, Hazard has said, but don't worry, because it will still be subject to the strategic land use policy, which, as we know, is an absolute toothless tiger. So, be not alarmed, be scared, bloody stiff. Thank you very much.